Welcome to the Mason Duchatschek Show. This episode is brought to you by Workforce Alchemy, helping leaders improve hiring, engagement, and retention while uncovering people-related profit leaks hidden in everyday operations. Today's guest helps leaders stop competing for attention and start positioning themselves as the only logical choice. Maeve Ferguson works with executives, founders, and experts to design diagnostic assessments that qualify prospects, pre-sell offers, and establish authority before a conversation ever happens. So instead of chasing leads or pitching harder, her approach reframes how buyers understand their problems and why a specific leader is uniquely equipped to solve them. Maeve's work and insights have been featured in Forbes, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and she is known for helping leaders replace generic messaging with precision positioning that creates leverage, clarity, and momentum. This conversation is about diagnostics, it's about differentiation, and how leaders can shift from being one of many options to the obvious choice. Maeve, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I hope I can live up to that incredible introduction. So excited to be here. And just from our pre-chat, I am really looking forward to popping the hood and talking about topics that really interest us both.
I'm glad you're here. I've been looking forward to it. So you emphasize diagnostic business assessments as a cornerstone of authority. Can you explain what you mean by the term diagnostic assessments and explain why they're so powerful compared to traditional marketing or sales conversations?
Yes, absolutely. So if you think about it from a business structure point of view, all of your competitors are doing standard activities, the ordinary things. They might have, the 1994 version of a PDF lead magnet to try to bring in prospects into their company. And the whole idea here with diagnostic assessments, and I'll get to the three versions of them in just a moment, but diagnostic assessments truly set you at a competitive advantage to any of the competitors who are just doing the normal kind of lead generation activities that everybody's doing run of the mill. And the reason for that is that you can really position either your authority, your expertise, or your company's way of doing things that showcases your methodology and how it is so different to what others do. And from the leads perspective, when we are on the receiving end of any kind of marketing material or marketing efforts, it is so easy to kind of get blinded by so many people, especially now with AI and especially with all of the bots on LinkedIn. Everybody's just getting hammered with the same thing every single day. Generic messages, things that like, oh, your profile caught my eye. No, it didn't. Okay. So people are becoming kind of blind to this generic approach in marketing. And the beauty of the diagnostic assessment is that it is completely personalized. So they're going to get a personalized result that is bespoke completely to them. No two are the same, and it is personalized for your specific situation. So if you think about it, the level of intent that you have when you go through and opt in for a PDF lead magnet, you basically barely have to even look at your phone these days, and it's like autofilling all of your information, probably sending that PDF to spam, which nobody ever opens it. You then find it in your spam and you're like, who's this dude? I don't even remember. Whereas if you think of the level of intent with a diagnostic, somebody is spending between 5 and 20 minutes going through and answering specific questions about their personal private situation. The level of intent with that lead is completely different to somebody who clicked an Instagram ad whilst they were like eating popcorn on the sofa on a Friday night. Okay. So completely different person. And so there's the level of intent piece. And then also from the business's perspective, you can position yourself as best in class because you have A, that diagnostic infrastructure, B, you are showcasing your offers and your solutions in a way that is personalized to the user, that you can bet your bottom dollar that your competition aren't doing that. And not only that, you start to get incredible data and insights into what is actually happening in your market, which you can then feed back into top of funnel copy, messaging, positioning you as the authority because you have the data of what's going on in your market because of the diagnostic.
It's interesting because I think back, and this was probably 10 to 12 years ago. I ran into a guy who I've always felt is 2 to 5 years ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Mike Koenigs, he's out in California. And he used to always say, identify what the 10 most frequently asked questions are of your prospects
Yeah.
and have those answers ready to go. And at the base level, you should have that. He
Hmm.
said, but the next level for positioning yourself as the only logical choice, he goes, identify what the 10 should ask questions are. The questions that your prospects don't know they need to ask. But when they hear them coming from you, they know this person might know more than me here. I should listen. And what I
Exactly.
enjoy about this conversation is I believe that your process and your systems are very good at extract getting those prospects to realize these are should ask questions. I didn't know that I should be analyzing this, or I didn't know that I should be analyzing that. And this is very relevant. There are levels to this, and I need to know more.
Exactly. So again, it's a position piece, and I actually had a conversation with our agency director this morning about this, where the problem or the struggle that people come to a sales call with her and with the sales team is never actually the problem at all. That is what they think the problem is, but part of our process is the identification of what they are actually struggling with. And in relation to diagnostics, if you think about those, having those 10 questions that they're going to ask, and what are the questions that they didn't even think to ask, and how that positions you so cleverly on a sales call, imagine the infrastructure of a diagnostic handling all of that for you before you ever have a single conversation. And what really, really lights me up about this is that discovery, those awful discovery calls that your people are like 60 minutes and it's like they tell you their life history and all of the things and all of the problems. And then they get to the end and they're like, yeah, I have no money to invest. The whole idea with post diagnostic, it is not a sales call. Is it, how does this work? When can I start conversation? Because the person is so pre qualified, they already have collapsed that whole process of getting to know you, your methodology, what you're all about, what you stand for, the level of intellect involved in crafting good questions that you've talked about happens inside the infrastructure, not in a discovery call.
I liked what you said. Could you repeat that? You said, how did you phrase that? You said people end up realizing they have problems that are different from what they thought they were.
Yes.
You said it better than me.
So most people will think they have a sales problem. I see this a lot in the expert industry, which is where people think they go and they're like, "Oh, it's my program's the problem," and they go and change the whole program, and they'll start changing curriculum, or if they're a service provider, they'll change how they deliver their service. But that's not actually the problem at all. They are thinking because people aren't buying their thing that it's the problem with the thing that they're selling. And it is rarely that. It is probably either a positioning problem where they're not talking to a rich ditch, they're attracting struggle bus people from the language that they're using. This is a huge, like, this is a today shift for anybody listening. If you're bringing in people who cannot afford your stuff, that is a messaging and positioning top of funnel problem. Okay, so we're our language, our positioning is bringing in people from where we're digging into pain points and we're talking about struggle bus problems, that is going to bring in struggle bus people. When we shift that positioning, shift that the level and the caliber of the person that we're speaking to, then this is where, for us, for example, we're able to sign multi six-figure clients because of how we're positioning our services in the marketplace. A few years back, I had a coaching program and courses and all of those things, helping people to turn their intellectual property into digital courses. That brought in a newbie audience that didn't have the funds to invest in themselves. They were on the struggle bus. They didn't have money to invest in paid traffic strategies and all of those things. And it's just a positioning shift that goes from working with the lower end of your market, regardless of industry, right through to the absolute upper echelons and world famous names.
So many leaders jump straight to pitching their services. In your opinion, what goes wrong when diagnostics are missing from that process?
So people are here to meet. It's like, hey, nice to meet you. Do you want to marry me? And they're like, no, it's a bit soon. People want to go and have a coffee or go on a date or go for dinner or whatever it may be. Okay. And so what I see often is that this actually happened to me this morning on a pre podcast intro call. where it was literally, here's my thing, it's 997, do you want it? And I was like, whoa, back up, mister. Like, who are you? What are you? Why are you selling me your thing? I'm all set for, I have all of my advisors in place. Thank you. That is an example of somebody who's like, here's my thing, and whether it's a good fit or for you or not, I'm going to try and shove it down your throat. Okay. What we want to do instead is only make offers to A, people who couldn't afford to invest at the level that we need them to invest at, and B, where we know we can solve their problem. And what's happening for most people is that they're trying to, what I always describe it as like square peg, round hole it. It's like, I've got the square peg and I want to make a sale, so I'm going to squeeze it into the round hole, even if it's not a good fit. And most people are having to do that manually on discovery calls because they don't have infrastructure that does that for them. Whereas for us, for example, we have with our diagnostics and for all of our clients' diagnostics, we have routing systems in them. And if people indicate that they're able to invest over X amount of dollars, so, they're like over 50K, they get routed to a different offer than the people who say they can spend between 10 and 35K. If somebody indicates that they can invest $0, I'm sure they're lovely people, but we're not going to like use up internal team, resource, time, all of those things chatting to these people. So we rewrite them to, here's our podcast, here's our YouTube channel, go get some free value there, but they don't even get to see our application.
It's interesting you say that. I had a guest on the podcast a week or two ago, and he was talking about a very similar concept to this. And he said, you treat everybody fairly, but you don't treat them the same.
Exactly, because we can't. If somebody, we're working with somebody at the moment. It's a multi 6-figure engagement. Somebody else is like coming into our world wanting to get the same level of value and saying that they're willing to invest $0 to build the infrastructure that we built for them. We're not going to give them the same level of attention. Okay, so the beauty of this is it reroutes all of those people to the correct offers. Again, if somebody is a 10K person and you try to sell them a multi 6-figure offer, that ain't going to work. But just as importantly, if you have a 10K offer, but you have somebody that wants a multi-year, multi-discipline engagement with you, and you try to flog them your 10K thing, that's a mismatch too. So the whole idea is like high ticket and low ticket. We want to put the right message and the right offer in front of the right person at the right time. And what the diagnostic does is it acts as that routing engine so that there is no mismatch between the offer and the positioning of that offer and what somebody's able to invest.
And so we were talking off camera earlier about methods of the past. And I have always believed in the value ladder that maybe someone's at a free information offer. They don't have the money, but they're willing to learn. But you give them some kind of offer that they can try that allows them to elevate, improve their performance, and they can take the additional revenue that you help them generate that they wouldn't have generated otherwise to buy the next level. And then
Mhm.
you can provide them with an offer that helps them go to the next level. And theoretically, every level should provide value in excess of what they invested to the point that
Mhm.
the products and services continue to pay for themselves. But what you're talking about is a way to shortcut that and find out where they are on that value ladder. And if someone's starting in the middle, start them in the middle. You don't have to wait
Exactly.
and go through this process.
So a multi 6-figure type person, they don't want your digital version of whatever. They don't want a self-guided version of whatever. They want personal, private, exclusive access to you, your brain, etc. And this is one a big flaw that I see in the industry is, and I used to have the ascension model in place, okay? But where I see this going wrong for a lot of people is that the revenue, I used to be an accountant, so I'm big into numbers, metrics, all of that kind of thing. The numbers model's upside down because what ends up happening is when a very low volume of people are paying you a very low dollar amount, super hard to get cash flow rolling, to make the business profitable, all of those things. Whereas you have a few big fish coming into your thing, everything downstream becomes easier because you're not cash strapped. You're not trying to bootstrap everything. You're not, you're not on that struggle bus. So the whole idea is that, and this does not mean that if you're not brilliant at what you do, you should go and flog a super high ticket offer. I don't mean that. I mean, where you have the skill set, the ability, the team, the backing, all of those things to deliver really good size engagements. Again, if you're in a corporate or in that type of environment, we could be talking multi-million dollar engagements, obviously. If you have that ability, focus on those people via having a writing engine to put the right people and the right message and the right offer in front of the right people at the right time, so that then the downstream activities and the lower ticket stuff becomes easier.
So, can you maybe walk us through what a strong diagnostic actually does for the buyer psychology before any offer is even made?
Yeah, it's brilliant. What I do is like I'll back up a little bit first and then remind me if I forget to get to this. So but
I'll do that.
there's three types of diagnostic, okay? One end of the spectrum we have what is better known as the quiz funnel. So my mentor, Ryan Lebeck, quiz funnels, qualified lead generators, that type of model works incredibly well in certain use cases. So, for example, we have a client that's running like $1 million a month in ads to a quiz funnel. It's like 8 questions. This thing is generating a insane amount of leads. Okay. Primary purpose of that is putting people into buckets. Okay. So they're either type A, type B, type C, a little bit of segmentation, low authority is what I would say. So that's like, it's quick, it's fun, it's easy, it's intriguing. It's like, oh, cool, that's interesting. They're now in your CRM as a lead. Okay, so that's one version. Very, very, very far end of the spectrum is what we call multidimensional diagnostics. So these are, for example, if you've ever been through Myers-Briggs, so I'm an INTJ, or Enneagram, I'm a 3 with a 4 wing, or Strength Finders or DISC, or any of those really, really amazing multidimensional diagnostic, or the happiness scale from Dr. Arthur Brooks, for example. Okay, those are best suited where there is true intellectual property, where it has been through rigorous statistical testing, so reliability, validity testing, all of those things. One of our clients, he's a Harvard professor. It's through that level of rigor, and it
Sure.
is a true positioning play. In that, these are normally paid diagnostics as well, so people actually pay to take it to get their result, to find out more about themselves. That's at the other end of the spectrum. And then for a lot of our clients, they fall in what we call a score-based diagnostic. Now, none
Could
of
you
these
slow
are
that
the
down a little bit? That blended together.
sorry, a score-based diagnostic. Okay. Sorry, my accent. I always forget that other people don't have my accent. So, score-based diagnostic. Like, none of these three are the poor cousin of the other. They're just different horses for different courses, different use cases. So, the score-based diagnostic is superb if your framework or methodology or IP or even your services have between 3 and 5 main pillars that you help people with. And the score-based diagnostic essentially works as a gap analysis tool where people will discover where they're doing really, really well, where they're really struggling, and they'll essentially get a score as it relates to each of these different areas. Now, what happens then from the user experience point of view, they get so much value from this normally free diagnostic where they discover something about themselves. It is so personalized to them. It's like, this is creepy. Are you inside of my head? How do you know this is going on for me? So it's not just some generic PDF thing. Okay, it's completely personalized to where they are because it's based on their private bespoke results. Okay. The copy, that's my favorite piece. The copy, the messaging, the positioning about your offer is tailored to exactly what they just told you, exactly what they just discovered is their biggest gap. Okay.
I
So
had
it's
a I
not
had a
like,
had a mentor early in my career. He said, "Your whole job is to find your customer's itch and scratch it." So that sounds like exactly what you're
exactly what
talking
it is.
about.
It's just like, here's the itch. They have an aha moment. They already know, like, and trust you. They've spent a few minutes going through your diagnostic. They're getting insight, more value than other people who have sold them stuff have ever given. And hey presto, the offer that you position in front of them matches their price point of what they're able to invest. So the check. So the big elephant in the room is already gone. And how we have positioned the offer in front of them directly correlates with their biggest struggle. So it just becomes such a no-brainer decision to do the call to action. And again, depending on your business type, business, your industry, your business model, all of those things, that could be to directly buy a product, that could be to apply to work with you, which is like what we have, or book a call, depending, depending on what your sales mechanism is, that can then be the call to action at the back end.
So, how do diagnostic assessments pre-sell an offer without feeling salesy or manipulative? Because that's a big deal, and I'm curious what your advice is in that
Yeah,
capacity.
so for me, I am not really into mainstream marketing tactics. So like the world in its mother now can see through the scarcity and the, urgency, and it's like you're first on the list, and if you don't say yes, I've got a big list of people waiting for this spot. You're like, come on, it's a time of recording. It's now 2026. We all know what's going on in the background. We all know that it's probably a hot mess behind the scenes. Our markets are getting so much more sophisticated than they used to be. So back in the days, 2017, where it was whack up a funnel and you'll be a millionaire by Friday, it doesn't work like that anymore. And I am truly a believer of meeting people and prospects, meeting them equally, instead of like, I'm so important, I'm here up here, you're just down here, and I'm going to come down and help you. It's instead like, let's join forces together. Let's do this together and get you what you want. There's like a mutual respect there instead of these garish, awful like marketing tactics where we really lean into and like kneel on the pain that they are struggling with. So to answer your question, how I would lead that is let's lead with value. Let's give them something. I'm big into tell them exactly what to do and then get paid to implement it because they either don't want to, they don't know how, they don't have capacity to. So it's like amazing. Can you just do it for us? And this is why we have completely done for you services. So pop the hood, give your best stuff, show them the how. Don't gatekeep, don't hide. And again, so that is going to dissolve that lack of trust because it's like, whoa, this person is just like giving me so much value. And then there's trust there. It's personalized, so it doesn't feel. And again, when we build funnels and you're in this game, you understand what's going on in the background. Our user doesn't even know what a funnel is.
Can
Okay.
can you give me maybe an example of where a diagnostic completely reframed how a prospect understood their own problem?
Okay. Where you are, I'll tell you an example actually of one we built. And this was for a best-selling author called Jen Kem. So big brand strategist in the States, multi-eight-figure company. And she wrote a book that was called, this is actually my own personal, I built the diagnostic, my team built the diagnostic, but this is a personal experience that I had. So where we built the diagnostic, it was super complex, multidimensional, about 900 and something test cases to get this thing approved, all of the rest to get it built and live. So I had been through this thing like hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of times. But when it went live, I then finally got to go through it for real for me without doing test cases and things like that. And what actually happened me, and I'm now paying her very handsomely, many tens of thousands of dollars per annum to work with her because I got such insight into who I am. Her just to give you some context, her diagnostic, everybody has visionizer in them, strategizer in them, and mobilizer in them, but we all have different blends of the three. Okay. So I went through this. My superpower, I was a super high mobilizer. So I am like an executor, hyper productive. I am amazing at getting stuff done. That was my highest score. My secondary was strategizer. So I'm very strategic in terms of how I think. But my weakest area was the blue sky thinking and the big vision and all of that type of thing. And what I actually discovered as part of that was twofold, not just that I want to hire in that visionizer piece that I am air quote missing or lacking, but also to actually lean into my superpower, which is the mobilizer piece. Whereas before I was trying to hide that because I didn't realize it was so valuable to my potential clients. Because I took that diagnostic, I now know because of how it was framed and the copy and the positioning and everything, that is actually my superpower. I have added multiple six figures to our company revenue because I learned that about myself and was able to lean into it in my marketing processes, in my sales processes, etc. And then I not only have I added multiple hundreds of thousands to my revenue from that, I also then went on to hire her because the know, like, and trust was there. I had the breakthrough, and it's like, I need a lot more of that.
So
Yeah.
for executives who feel
Yeah.
stuck on competing on price or credentials, how can diagnostics move them out of comparison entirely?
Just out of comparison entirely. So it's you don't ever compete on price, but B, it is simply a positioning play. And what I mean by that is the multiple six-figure client that I mentioned earlier, who shall remain nameless just to protect that, to protect all of that. They are paying me to do a very, very, very similar project that I did a few years back with somebody who was at a completely different caliber of investment, not even 10K. Okay. It is a positioning piece. So, who are we selling our services or offers or products, whatever they may be? Who are we selling them to? First of all, forget about diagnostics, but how are we positioning that in the marketplace to bring in what we call the rich niche? So, how are we bringing in that absolute upper echelons of that specific market who will pay well for the exact same service as somebody who's going to browbeat you for every dollar and cent? Okay. Who wants to live that life? Not me. Okay. Then the diagnostic is there to save you and your sales team heartache and time of having really horrible conversations with wrong fit people. It is there as a filtration mechanism on purpose, spitting out everybody who's not a good fit, either sending them on their merry way or giving them something at an investment price that suits what they can do. And then it filters for you all of the people who can afford to invest at the level you want to be serving them at.
So you're talking about positioning, and that just prompts a question. What mistakes do leaders make when they try to build diagnostics on their own without a clear positioning strategy?
Well, if I had a dollar for every single time, it's like, oh yeah, had a quiz. I tried that, didn't work for me. And then you look at it and it's some sort of type form and they have like six eyeballs on it and no leads. You're like, oh my goodness, this is not what we're talking about. Okay. So what I often see, and especially with AI, so we build a lot of agentic AI for solutions for our clients. We are big, big, big down that rabbit hole. So I'm an avid fan, but what most people are doing now is they're like, go to ChatGPT and I want to build a quiz funnel. And what should my questions be? And then they plug that in to some AI tool and think then that that's a diagnostic. So that is a huge issue because back to your point, I'm going to steal that for future recordings, is the power of the diagnostic is asking the questions that make them realize I would never even have thought of it from that angle. That's what we're actually doing in a diagnostic. Okay. And that is the piece that has, all of our skill and all of our experience and years and years of doing these, seeing what works well, seeing what doesn't work well, all of that is what actually goes into crafting one that actually works versus the version that, anybody could whack up a quiz funnel tonight on ChatGPT. Easy peasy, like no problem. Okay. It doesn't mean that that's going to work for your business. So that's one piece. The second piece that I see happening a lot is where people start with like, what should my quiz be? And they start top of funnel. They start with their quiz hook. Okay. Forget all of that. We begin. So we deliver this as a VIP day with our clients, either virtually or in person. And we begin with the end in mind. So where are we sending people? What are our offers? What are our services? What are our products, depending on what type of industry you're in? Then we reverse out of that to decide, right, what's our sales mechanism? Is it, if we are selling a $47 widget, well, we're not going to have an application funnel for that, obviously. Okay. So very, very specific. What are the sales mechanisms for the different offer types at different levels? If you only have one offer, these still work really well. You just position the offer differently depending on the results that the person gets. Then you're coming out of that and trying to decide, okay, what are our categories or subcategories? What are the questions that we need to ask so that when people answer them in a certain way, this result that we give them makes sense and creates that desire and demand to work with us to implement the solution.
You
So
hit on
that's
something there when you
yeah,
said that it creates the desire and the demand to
right.
work with us. There's
Exactly.
I have one quick, and I mentioned off air that I wish I would have met you sooner because I have put together some questionnaire type quizzes. So this was a fascinating topic for me. And one of the questions, and real, I'll make it very concise, was to target for business owners,
Mm-hmm.
what is your annual payroll? And
Mm-hmm.
two, what is the discretionary effort of your average employee?
Mm-hmm.
Because you talked about getting people to realize, oh, I never thought of it that way. Well, if they see, hey, I've got a $10 million in payroll and my average employee is engaged at a 60% effort level, I'm paying 10 million, but I'm getting $6 million worth of work accomplished. That's a $4 million profit leak. And oh,
Yeah.
by the way, if you said, what were the words you used? It will encourage them or motivate them to do business with you.
Like the desire and the demand. So what?
Desire and demand. So imagine you're a business owner and you just found out you got a $4 million profit leak. And the other thing that you realize is, gee, I've got really smart people, but if we already had the tools and the knowledge to prevent this $4 million profit leak, we would have done it already.
Yeah.
So now there's that aha moment like, hey, this is what this is costing me. It's because of that, which I didn't realize. And oh, by the way, I don't have the people, tools, systems, or technology in place to fix this problem. Otherwise, it already would have been fixed.
Yeah. So you're just
That's the
looking at the
aha moment.
Yeah. So your job of your results pages and your personal follow-up reports, which are all automated, is to speak to exactly, here's what we've just, this is costing you $4 million. Here's the positioning of the offer and exactly what we do for you to solve for that. How we position that matches the investment ability that they have just told us inside the diagnostic that they can do. So it's just like, my word, now I get it. Apply to work with me here.
And in our case, it's, hey, would you or your staff like to know how to do this? And would you like to know what tools are necessary? If so, then here's a free offer to get access to those. And oh, by the way, if you want to cut a check for speed and get to the end result you want faster, then you can work with us to do that. And there's a different
But
environment.
then,
So,
yeah, but to take that to a different level, the people you would make here the free resources, those would be your unqualified track. The people who already have indicated that we know that, we're willing to drop $1 million in this because it's going to solve for a $4 million gap. They're not getting that. Here's the free stuff message. They're just like, they're getting the messaging and the positioning as to, we know you're this caliber of person. Here's the next step for you.
so how do diagnostics help uncover problems that clients didn't know they had, but immediately recognize once revealed? That's just one for me, but do you have any other examples?
Yeah, so every single score-based diagnostic is an example here. So where you have to remember, so when people are going through this it's hard for you because you've built these, so you get what's happening at the back end. Other people, normal people have not built these, okay? So they are going through it from a consumer perspective, answering questions. They have no idea of the computations and the score-based algorithms and all of those things that are happening on the back end. But what happens is they get to the result, and then you're like, well, here's your overall result. Here's the breakdown of that result. And then within these 4 areas, now let's pop the hood on these and show you exactly where you stand. And because then they're getting an actual score for each of these subsets, they then start to see and build a picture of exactly what's going on for them specifically. And because it's personalized, it's related to them. And then they see the offer that solves for exactly what you've just discovered that they're struggling with. It's like, oh my goodness, this is for me. This is actually the solution that I need.
You keep talking about what's in this for me, and that is not lost on me. So what
Yes.
role does specificity play in diagnostics, and why does generic language just kill your authority?
So to me, it's the level of personalization. Because, like, again, back to the very opening conversation on this and those like awful messages that we're all getting bombarded with day and daily. It's like, hey, it's like, these people can't be making any money because, like, who answers these things? Okay. When you have an experience that the result is personalized to you, it's speaking to you by name. So it's like, hey, Maeve, here's where you are, here's what's going on, here's what we've discovered. It is doing it in a respectful way, not a gross bro marketer, like, kneel on your pain points type way. People feel heard, they feel understood. And as one of our clients, they said on a sales conversation, they were like, I feel so seen. Those are the words that they used before they hopped into a multi-six-figure engagement.
So how do you hinted at this earlier, but how do you get potential clients to participate in your processes and provide the data you need, especially if it takes a little bit of effort on their part?
Yeah, so this is the topic conversation, and I always laugh about this one because we build diagnostic assessments for a living. This is what we do, and I will be the first person to say that having a diagnostic there is absolutely pointless if you don't have a traffic strategy. You gotta run water through the pipes. Okay, so you see this all the time. People build assets and they don't actually have there's nobody going through them. Okay, so there's three main ways. So obviously got the paid traffic strategy that I mentioned earlier, and you don't have to spend $1 million a month in ads. That was just one of our clients. Even like $50 a day in ads, get in the right people. We've got to run water through the pipe. So that's one option. The next option is what I call scalable organic. It's actually my favorite. And what scalable organic is that instead of trying to get one person at a time to go through your thing, I use the scalable organic model, which is podcast guesting, which is what I'm doing right now as we're having this
Sure.
conversation, where you're going to air this episode and you're going to have X number of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of listeners, depending on the show, who are then going to go on to go through your mechanism. Okay, so that's another way. I do a lot of guest masterclasses where I teach my subject matter expertise, just like anybody else can, in front of audiences where my ideal client is in the room. They then go through the diagnostic. Okay. Same for I do a lot of keynote speaking. So I'm speaking on stage, and whether that's virtually or in person, we have that infrastructure, that asset that is used every single time I open my mouth, every single post that is my team are putting out across social media. So I write all of my own content by hand. AI agents do repurposing, and then my team manage the process. Every single solitary touch point, whether it's my LinkedIn, my Substack, an email to my list, everything is driving through the diagnostic. And the whole idea is then, as people are coming into our world, we have them segmented from the get-go. We're not there trying to figure out and have these discovery calls to see, what level they're at, and like, oh no, we don't work with people who are, at that stage anymore, and all of that stuff. It's the machine and the infrastructure sorts all of that for us. But we have that traffic strategy. Otherwise, it's just a really fancy thing sitting on the internet. So it's like make your decisions around organic plays, scalable organic plays, and paid traffic plays. And obviously, you'll have it on your website too. So you're like, what are your current traffic strategies to get eyeballs on your stuff? Because we have to have water running through the pipes to be able to route the people to the right offer at the right time.
So I got a question for you because, like, Gary Vaynerchuk is famous for one of his quotes where he says, "Marketers ruin everything," and they have
Marketers really do ruin everything.
the trust. Like, I won't sign up for anything email using my real email address because I get pummeled with nonstop. And even if I hit unsubscribe, they don't care. It's brute force. Like, it happens so often. It's like pathetic. Let's talk specifically about paid traffic. What
Mm-hmm.
type of hooks are you able to put on an ad that
Mm-hmm.
would cut through that?
Mm-hmm.
How do you overcome that built-in objection? Because marketers have abused trust so bad in the past that a paid ad would actually work and get someone to say, gee, I think this makes sense to me. I'll fill this thing out and take my chances. You got to be doing something special to make that
Yeah, I get it.
channel work. And I'm curious what tips or ideas you have for that.
So there are 4,000 ways to answer this question, but I give one example of a play that you can use here. So 3 play campaigns and awareness campaigns are super, 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 like literally pennies on the dollar, to get eyes on you. Okay. They're then watching a quick 15-minute or 15 seconds of a video clip of you, connection, know, like, and trust. Okay, so that's one piece. That's just an awareness campaign, really, really low ad spend. What we can then do, and this is where your diagnostic becomes a self-fulfilling flywheel. It's one of my favorite agents, AI agents that we have built. So essentially, what you're doing in your very first round of paid traffic, you're going to push paid traffic to your best performance organically. Okay, so you've got a piece of content, it's capturing people organically. So you're like, right, this is my winner for now. We're going to run paid traffic to this. We're then retargeting through play viewers of the awareness video. They've seen your face, they trust you, they like you, they're like, she might be my person. He looks like he might actually be a decent guy. Okay, so that piece is there. We're then sending the invitation to take the diagnostic to those people who are a little okay. And then this is where it gets really cool. So the more data, the more people, the more water you run through the pipes in the diagnostic, don't forget at the back end, you are getting insane amounts of data on your market, what they're struggling with, what they need, what they want, etc. everybody is getting hyper segmented into different buckets depending on what they're struggling with the most. The data then informs, here's the angles that you want to speak to. So this is where you'll start to see ads and you're like, oh my word, like that is literally what is going on for me. Okay. And we're able to get that so accurate and so specific because the data that we get from all of the people who have gone through our assessment so far gives us that guidance. We have AI agents built that do this all autonomously and they literally tell us what to feedback in top of funnel ad copy that then is just this just gets stronger and as the diagnostic gets smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter, more and more traffic through it, the agent knows better and better and better, here's what's working, here's what's not. Here are the pieces of copy that attracted the people who only had $5,000 to spend. Here are the pieces of copy who attracted the multi-six-figure buyer or whatever your equivalent is. And then therefore feeds back to our marketing channel, do more of this, do less of this, do more of this, do less of this. And it just becomes a self-optimizing flywheel over time where the diagnostic itself informs your marketing efforts that land with your people. And then they go through this as a personalized experience and they then go on, like our clients do, to work with you for years to come.
Interesting. So I really appreciate your time. As I've learned a lot already. And if you could only give one piece of advice, of your most valuable advice to people that are tuning in today, what would it be and why?
So it is a super quick fix. This is not building a diagnostic as a project. Shift your who top of funnel. There's so many people when you actually sit down and critique what you're putting out, and you're like, it's almost embarrassing. You're like, is it any wonder we were bringing through these types of people? Or is it any wonder we were bringing in people who had this objection and that objection? That's exactly what we're speaking to and think. So it's like, look at your top of funnel messaging, positioning, copy and think to yourself, what type of person, what type of buyer, at what level are we bringing these people in? If there's a mismatch between the value we're bringing to this world, the price point or the investment that it is to work with us to bring that value to the world, is there a mismatch between the who that is coming through? That is a right now tweak that you then, yes, you can build the diagnostics and all of those fancy things in due course, but that one single shift will change the entire trajectory of your company.
Thank you for that. So for people who want to know more about you, your company, and the work you do, what's the best way for them to connect?
So LinkedIn is our main platform. Okay, so just connect with me on LinkedIn. Just shoot us a DM and let us know that you heard us on this show, and we'll take the conversation from there. And if you want to see an example of a diagnostic, you can go to impactscoreassessment.com.
Could you say it a little bit more slowly?
Impactscoreassessment.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I hope that those watching and listening today had as much fun and learned as much as I did. I really appreciate your time, Maeve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Amazing conversation. I really enjoyed it.